Hey now, welcome to the Refreshing Thoughts podcast. I guess if you're an audio listener, it's a podcast. If not, it's a YouTube channel. I'm not too sure what it is. I am your host, Chris Fresh, and thank you to the Shine Worldwide who provide that kick-ass intro music. Heads are gonna roll. You can find them on Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Music, all your music listening devices of choice. And the Shine are awesome. Thanks to PG3, Jules, Mino, Greg, whoever's on the lineup, Dylan, Villain, who knows? But love those guys. But I'm back after a bit of a break. We had a Wrestle Rock show and schedules were out a little bit, so I apologize for that. But I am here and I've actually got some stuff to talk about. I wasn't sure what topic I was going to go with because I've received some really cool stuff in the mail, and I wrestle with the idea of, am I just going to be here's a toy reveal of what I got every week because I've got a plastic crack addiction, and that's pretty much going to be the show. Do I want it to be more than that? Do I want it to be topic based? I don't really know, so I'm sort of winging it. But there's one thing I do love, and that's the 90s. The 90s were where I came of age. I was born in 1979. So sort of like my childhood sort of ended. And then I became a teenager in the 90s, and hormones kick in, and you discover whatever gender you're going to be attracted to. Me, it was women. They weren't attracted to me. But you get into music and they become the sounds of your youth. Toys are important, and for me, video games were important. And when I was a kid, I was pretty fortunate when it came to gaming. My father happened to like technology, and even though he didn't have money, he thought technology was cool. And I had older siblings that could sort of chip in and help me obtain technology. And the first video game console I ever owned, I would have been 9 years old, and it was the Atari 2600. Now, it's not the big wood grain version or even the Darth Vader version. It's like the 2600 Junior. And yeah, it was to me the coolest thing, because thing that appealed to me in the arcades early on was a game called Double Dragon. And you could choose one of two characters, and it's a side-scrolling beat 'em up, pretty much just punch kick. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I can remember on the Atari 2600, they ported Double Dragon to it. And I was so excited that I was going to own Double Dragon and be able to play it at home. To say that the Double Dragon on the Atari 2600 was not the Double Dragon of the arcade would be an understatement, but so it would go with many of the Atari 2600 ports. But I had games like Pitfall, I think I had Ghostbusters. I had a terrible wrestling game, but Double Dragon was a big deal, and the 2600 I thought was cool. I then, like many Australians, got a Sega Master System, Master System 2 specifically. I remember my older brother Martin had the Sega Master System 1 with the phaser gun. I had a Master System 2, and it had Alex Kidd in Miracle World built into it. And it's funny, the Master System was a way bigger deal everywhere but North America, it seems. And there's plenty of videos on YouTube, far better than mine, that you can watch about that. Sega Lord X is one of my favorite video gaming YouTubers. The Gaming Historian's another good one. But yeah, you can check out that. But I always find it interesting. But the Sega Master System, most of my friends had. Like Nintendo was popular. I'm not saying Nintendo wasn't popular, but a lot of us had the Sega Master System, and its Double Dragon was a lot more faithful. And yeah, I thought Master System was the coolest, playing Psycho Fox and stuff like that. And then my brother-in-law and sister went to Europe, and on the way back, they came through Singapore. And Gary, very nicely, my brother-in-law, bought me a video game console called an Oronix, and it was a long black console. It had two built-in controllers, a bit like a Turbo Graphics. If you've ever seen one of them, they didn't come out here. Or I don't think it did. And it had a 63-in-1 gaming cartridge, and they were all 8-bit Nintendo games. And I was blown away. And it had a converter, and he said that he was told by the person that he bought it from that the converter would let you play normal 8-bit Nintendo games on it. And I was like, oh my God, I've got a Nintendo and 63 games. So I went to the Plains video at the West Holberg Mall and hired a game and went to put it on the converter, and it didn't really fit right and everything, and it didn't work. And it was a bummer because like the 63 games were cool. There were a lot of games on there, but Super Mario Brothers 3 in particular was a game I wanted to play, and the converter didn't work. And being a glutton for punishment, I would hire games thinking I was going to get a different outcome. And then one day, a friend of mine, Craig, rest in peace, Craig, member of TWT, the Way of the Tiger, our gang of the time, we were Ninja Turtles crazy. But he was just mucking around with it and put the cartridge on backwards. And we put it in, and lo and behold, it worked. And I now had a fully functioning Nintendo console. So I never actually owned the Mattel distributed Nintendo. I had an Oronix. And yeah, that was really cool. But becoming a teenager, the arcade, like going to Time Zone here in Australia, or and playing the Sega Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo, that's where my real love of video games began. And I'm probably stuck in the 16-bit era. But I'll get into that, but I'll come back to that. But the rage at the time were fighting games. I know a lot of people shit on it, but I thought Pit Fighter was really cool. It was digitized graphics. It was a big dude called Buzz, and he was like meant to be a wrestler, and love wrestlers. And I thought Pit Fighter was amazing because to me it was cutting edge that there were these digitized graphics and stuff. So I thought Pit Fighter was really cool. And then Street Fighter 2 hits. And look, I'm not the greatest at any game. I'm not a great gamer, but I play well enough for me type gamer, because back then you either had a mate come over and you played against them, or you were pretty much just playing by yourself. So I was, in more ways than one, playing by myself a lot. And look, I was 13, 14, leave me alone. But yeah, I was into fighting games, and Street Fighter 2 hit, and it hit big. And if you could get near an arcade machine, it was a big deal to play it and trying to pull off a Hadouken, and everything like that. And then I remember Toy World at Northland. It might have been the Zigzag, because Toy World became Zigzag for a little bit for those Australian toy historians. I don't know if they all did or what happened there. Maybe Horde World would know. Who's Horde World, you may ask? Well, he's one of the finest follows on Instagram. You should go follow him, because he's just marvelous. So is Ben Sachs. They're at war at the moment, and Saxy doesn't even know. Horde World went on a anti-Snake Man crusade, all to bait, I think, Shredder 1982 Ben Sachs into a poo-poo on you sort of telling off, and it didn't work because I don't think either Ben paid attention to his socials or particularly cared. But it was an entertaining day. But yeah, I'm sure Horde World may know what the go was with Toy World and Zigzag. I'd ask Dirty Uncle Mitch Blockbuster J, but I don't think he'd remember. He just remembers Isles Toy Kingdom or whatever it was. That they had two stores in Reservoir and in Diamond Valley. Was it Diamond Valley? Why am I saying Diamond Valley? Sort of around McLeod, Greensboro way. Can't think what it's called. I learned how to drive there. Anyway, I digest. Yes, I know it's I digress. I remember seeing that the Super Nintendo Street Fighter bundle and that Street Fighter 2 with the gold box and stuff, it was available on the Super Nintendo, and I thought that is amazing. I remember going to the High Tech Game Center, which was a specific video game shop that opened outside of Greensboro Plaza. And I thought it was the coolest, and they were importing stuff. And I remember they had a Super Famicom, and it had Street Fighter 2 before it came out in Australia. And I thought that was amazing. So even though I was not great at it, I was still hyped up on the idea of it. And then a little game came along that took digitized graphics of Pit Fighter and turned it into a fighting game, but with blood and guts and everything. And it was Mortal Kombat. And I enjoyed Mortal Kombat. Wasn't very good at it again. I could do certain moves. I had a terrible time trying to pull off fatalities. My fine motor skills are disgraceful, still are to this very day. Just ask my wife, who's currently building me blockies because I'm useless. But yeah, I thought Mortal Kombat was a technological masterpiece. And seeing these real life graphics. And what really appealed to me was Raiden, because I loved Big Trouble in Little China, and he was the Lord of Lightning and clearly borrowed from that. And I thought that was really cool. And those games would go on, obviously, to get movies and cartoons and everything. But the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie, I still watch a couple of times a year, every year, and have. I love that movie. I love that, I think, more than I love the game Mortal Kombat, if that makes sense. I always go Street Fighter 2 better game, Mortal Kombat better movie. And still true to this very day, because I know people don't like that Mortal Kombat that came out a couple of years ago. I just rewatched it. It's actually not that bad, but they did my boy Goro dirty. Filthy on how they treated Goro. Redemption for Goro and the new one that's coming out in October. I'd do that and have other arms come up if I was good at graphic design or something. Prince Goro. Love Goro. But yeah, I love the movie. I'm nostalgic for the toys. I've slowly been collecting the toys. So I've been playing around, and look at me. I can add images to the stage now. I figured out how to do it. It's not very fancy because I don't have a refreshing thoughts border. Maybe I should work on that. But anyway, here's my gaming collectible shelf. And you can see I've got some G.I. Joe Street Fighter and some G.I. Joe Mortal Kombat. And I try and get them whenever I can. And Jada Toys are releasing amazing Street Fighter 2 toys. They're just phenomenal. Like, to me, they're flawless. And for the price, like, they're under $40. That's pretty extraordinary. The packaging is really cool. I'm going to be in trouble with my Mortal Kombat shelf as we get to what I'm going to talk about and open on this very episode. But as you can see, I've got Mortal Kombat on Laserdisc on VHS. I've got the soundtrack on CD. I've got some toys in there. If you have any Street Fighter 2 or Mortal Kombat G.I. Joe stuff that you want to sell me, I would happily buy it from you. It's not easy to get your hands on in Australia, and I love it. I think it's really cool. Oh, wow, I'm so proud of myself. And while I'm at it, here's a look at some of my vintage gaming stuff that you can see. I've got Power Glove, Super Nintendo, Mega Drive. That's our arcade one-up Ninja Turtles machine. I've got the Super Scope there, Nintendo 64, the Donkey Kong handheld game, Australian Rules Football on Nintendo. It's a Game Boy there. ET, which I'd like to tell myself got unburied from landfill. There's a story on that, and there's a Geek Dudes on that. But yeah, anyway, that's a look at some of my gaming stuff. And yeah, I'm very nostalgic for all of that. So Storm Collectibles were doing Mortal Kombat figures, and I missed them, and they're very expensive. But I did get a Prince Goro last year, and it's on display in the lounge room. That's how fancy that figure is, and it's one of my favorite figures. So a lot of us were hoping Jaded Toys were going to get the license for Mortal Kombat because they were doing such good versions of Street Fighter characters. And with Street Fighter 2, I have desperately been trying to stick to just the core characters and not even getting into Super Street Fighter 2, although I may crack. Um, and that's where I'd love to hear everybody's opinions. Do I need Super Street Fighter 2 Jaded Toy figures? And with Mortal Kombat, I'm trying to stick to Mortal Kombat 1, but Todd's sort of releasing Mortal Kombat 2. Do I need all of the Mortal Kombat 2 characters? Mortal Kombat 2 is a better game than Mortal Kombat 1. I'm a movie guy. I wish he was doing movie figures. Like, if you're going to ask me what version of the characters would I want, it would. Oh, could you imagine a movie accurate Goro? Like, that would be amazing. But anyway, before I get to McFarlane, this popped up on eBay, and it was in China, which is always suspicious. And it came in this little Coke bag here. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know everything, and I could have researched, but why research when going on a thing? I believe this is the movie version of Johnny Cage. Now, made in China and stuff. Like, is this a bootleg? Like, it's because it's essentially brand new. Like, is this a KO Hasbro Johnny Cage? Because it certainly doesn't have a Hasbro stamp on it. It's just got made in China on the back. But I believe that's the movie Johnny Cage. But that's wild if somehow the Chinese bootleggers and stuff, mind you, I respect them. You know, in these crazy times, they're going to bring out these guys affordable. But that is pretty minty mint. I don't know. Maybe somebody in China just liked collecting Mortal Kombat movie figures and decided that they were going to sell their Johnny Cage. I don't know. But I got him and I'm wrapped. Johnny Cage going to be in the new movie played by Carl Urban. But what's brought us to the den, I hear you ask, is news. McFarlane have released Mortal Kombat figures, and I thought I'd open them with you and we can have a look together to see what we think. Orange Knife of Doom is here. So what we've got here is pretty cool packaging. Like, it's not bad. I hate the scale. McFarlane refused to make figures in scale with anything else. It's very much arcade accurate, I guess. After winning the Shaolin tournament from Shang Tsung's clutches, Kang returns to his temples. He discovers his sacred home in ruins. His Shaolin brothers killed with a vicious battle with a horde of outward warriors. Horde. Now he travels into the dark realm to seek revenge. I guess it is Mortal Kombat 2. Frank on Toy Power. Excellent listen, excellent human. Big Mortal Kombat fan. What do you say we open him? I do like the packaging. Don't have room to display in packets. So freedom from their plastic prisms. Freedom. You got to George Michael, what an artist. Big George Michael fan. He did a song with Mary J. Blige called If. It's a cover. Really good. I think you should check it out. But that's not what you're here for. So here we go. Todd. Yeah. So you pull out, that's pretty nice packaging. It'd be pretty easy to put back into the packaging should one choose. There he is in his tray, surrounded by what I hate, and that is plastic ties. Like, I understand that people are worried about shoplifting, but are these sitting on retail shelves? Or are these in collectible stores? How many people are getting away with stealing in collectible stores? I got mine from the Gamesman. Ironically, from the Gamesman. They have been around for a very long time. They've got a video game museum, and I'm dying to get there one day because I saw they've got the top loader Nintendo system. The 8-bit Nintendo got modernized when the Super Nintendo was out, and they released a top loader. And it's pretty rare to have a PAL top loader, and it had a dog bone controller, they like to call it. Anyway, I can't help but notice that the gamesmen have it on display with a normal Nintendo controller. And I want to be a real knob and go into the store and go, no dog bone controller. Anyway, here is Liu Kang. Liu! I was a little miffed watching the movie that Liu Kang was top dog. I don't know why. I obviously don't follow the game very well. Speaking of Pepsi Max. Too late in the day for a sugar-free Red Bull. Liu Kang. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Todd's figures, about the visible pins, and it is kind of outrageous. You've got the ab crunch there. I'm terrible. Like, you don't. Australian wrestling legend Crackerjack would tell you what an awful figure poser I am. That articulation means nothing to me, and he is correct. Feels like Liu Kang should have fists. He feels okay. Like sculpting's not too bad. Like, it's not a bad figure. Like, I'm not fussy. I wish it was smaller. I wish it was more in Majeda scale, but that is Liu Kang. Let's keep going. Oh, comes with some hands. And you get a Mortal Kombat classic stand there. Todd's always good for a stand. Did you give him a collector's card, Todd? No useless collector's card, but I don't want. Let's go for Scorpion. Scorpion was not my ninja of choice when I was a young man. I preferred Sub-Zero. I thought Sub-Zero was cool. I thought Sub-Zero was cool. And but I now like playing as Scorpion when I go and play it. And little did I realize that Scorpion was the heel and Sub-Zero is the babyface. But if you ask me aesthetically what I prefer, I think Reptile looks really cool. I can't wait to get Reptile. So there's the packaging for Scorpion. It says the Hellspawn Spectre rises from the pit. After learning of Sub-Zero's return, he again stalks the ninja assassin, following him into the dark realm of the Outworld, where he continues his own unholy mission. Kind of metal. So we've got in the packaging, he's get over here. Whatever you want to call that, where somebody's telling me it's called This Fresh. And it's like, yeah, that's why nobody watches this channel. Well, they do, but some of those toy tubers, their numbers that they pull. I'd love to be an influencer. So then I could afford to feed my children. But I listen, have you heard Geek Dudes? I don't think I'm ever going to be an influencer. I think I'm on the ban list of most major toy companies. Certainly Head Start never invited me back after the Mutant Mayhem toy debut. I thought I was a well-behaved young man at that, but I asked them, will Ray Fillet come out in Australia? I emailed them. And do you know what they responded with? Nothing. So I think I'm off the influencer list. Unlike that dude Gab, that seems like a bit of a something. He's on a lot of Ninja Turtle Facebook groups. I guess he's an influencer, and they prefer him to the freshness. But I prefer the freshness. Yes, I'm calling myself the freshness. Just putting this in here. There's Sub-Zero. No, I'm Scorpion, not Sub-Zero. Not a bad figure. Like, I've made the mistake before where companies like was it Jazzwares? A company had a crack at Mortal Kombat and stuff in the small scale and stuff. And it's like, always get the ninjas. Always get the ninjas, because even if you didn't want the other characters, you'd still keep the ninjas because they're cool. The head sort of is very forward. I was seeing if it a lot of room to go back, but not particularly. But the ninjas always look cool. Like you're never not gonna um, you're never not gonna think that Scorpion and Sub Zero and Reptile and Smoke and people like that aren't gonna look cool on your shelf. Toe articulation, I've never really just make it stand. That's all we ask. But people, I guess, they want to be able to flip up toes like that. Kind of feeling annoyed at the head. Like I want it to go back a bit more. I don't know why I want to go back a bit more, but there you go. And there is one more to go, and I'm going to address the elephant in the room. For those that know about these toys, because at the moment, some of you are going, Chris Fresh is a misogynist, because there is a character that has come out that I don't have, but I want to talk to you about that. It's got nothing to do with gender. So this is Sub-Zero's packaging. There you go for those looking. It says, thought to have been killed in the Shaolin tournament, Sub-Zero mysteriously returns. Is it Bihan? It is believed he traveled into the outworld to again attempt to assassinate Shang Tsung. To do so, he must fight his way through Shao Kahn's tournament. How good's a tournament? It's such a basic premise, but so good. Like, you know, Enter the Dragon, Kickboxer, Best of the Best, Bloodsport. You know, give me a good tournament. I'll be up for it. Mortal Kombat. That's where Street Fighter went wrong. Wasn't a tournament. Like they're making this new movie. I feel the new movie's got too many wrestlers in it. It can sort of ruin it for me. Like I don't like the idea of Cody Rhodes being Guile. I'll be honest with you. I was glad that Miz didn't get the role of Johnny Cage. I just sometimes need separation of church and state when it comes to professional wrestling. Batista, fantastic actor. John Cena's great. Oh, Dwayno, he has his moments. But, you know, when you've got Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, it's like, ugh, too much business for my taste. I like to call wrestling the business. Well, it pays me, so I guess it is the business. Could pay me more. It's a discussion I drunkenly had at a restaurant. For another podcast. So here we go. We've got Sub-Zero. Now, his hands are pretty basic. I can't help but notice no ice effects. Jada Toys would have done really cool effects with their figures if they had have done them. There's nothing wrong with these figures. The sculpts are nice enough. I'm personally not strongly bothered by that, by the pins, but they can do better, you know. But it's Todd. But I don't know why he does that. But there is that. Where's the other ninja? Get over here. It actually worked that time. There are those two there. Like they look nice on a shelf. Nice on anyone's shelf. You know, are they perfect? No. Am I happy with them? Yeah. Am I easy to please? A little bit too much. But no. Get in Reptile. Give me some green. So you're gonna go, where's Katana? Why haven't you got her? And the reason I haven't got her isn't that I won't get her, is that I'm not sure that I'm going to go full Mortal Kombat 2. But then I think, Jax, I'd probably want Jax in there. You know, I'm going to want a Baraka. So I probably am going to go Mortal Kombat 2. I probably will get her, and I'm going to go, ugh, it would have been cheaper to ship her with them. But then I'll just wait for, I think, Raiden and Reptile, which are my two faves, about to come out next. I'll get her with them. I don't know if the 2-packs have effects and stuff like that, but they're okay. They're just McFarlane figures, you know. They're decisively average. They look nice enough on the shelf. You can't complain. It's a bit like fast food of toys. You know, it's never going to blow your mind, but it's serviceable. I think McFarlane's capable of a lot more, because you see some of the stuff that he does do sometimes, like his Batmobiles. I know people didn't like the Batmobiles. I loved the big Batmobiles. I thought they were cool. Some of the Batman figures were cool. The Superman movie figures are nice. Todd can do really good stuff. Yeah, so I don't know. It's a line I'm going to collect. It just sort of sucks that he does these weird scales that are tall. Like he sort of does 7-inch figures, while most other figures are 6-inch figures, which drives people with scaling crazy. Because you got to think in the 90s, G.I. Joe, Hasbro producing Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, they all intertwined. So if you were a kid playing with the two, they worked. But I was thinking, while I'm talking video games, one of the things I loved the most about video games was gaming magazines. And here is Hyper Magazine issue 2. Why am I showing you issue 2 and not issue 1? It's because my issue 1 got wrecked and I no longer own it. And every time I've gone to buy it, it's $200. It's got Chun-Li on the cover. It's got a story about virtual reality sex in it. I can remember reading it cover to cover 50 billion times. That's why I know what's in it. But yeah, gaming magazines were such a big part of. Look at this. Get yourself a free offer, a Street Fighter keychain. Gaming magazines were a big deal to me, and they're reading Hyper issue 1. Told you I had Chun-Li on the cover. And Americans and the Brits seem to read different magazines from each other. And I believe Game Pro was an American magazine, where computer and video games and Mean Machines were UK magazines. And Hyper and GameStar and Megazone, which ended up becoming a Sega magazine, were sort of Australian magazines. And wrestling magazines and video gaming magazines, like, look at this. Who didn't want a Sega? Who didn't want a Mega CD and a Mega Drive? Never owned a Mega Drive 2. I wouldn't mind owning a Mega Drive 2. But like, it was just cool to read magazines and get your information this way, and you'd keep reading it and reading it. And I think it's something that's lost. I shouldn't be reading a magazine on cover and not, I'm thinking not talking to you. But, you know, I feel there's something lost in getting information. That's such a cool cover. Getting information so fast, like we do in this age, like it hits and goes within seconds. I feel sometimes I podcast just to debrief on what I've heard and talk about it with friends, so it's not lost. And I used to just buy magazines and sit there and read and wish I had. Like, I feel like I owned way more games than I ever did, just because I read about them so much and I read the reviews and stuff. You know, I poured over gaming magazines. Gaming magazines in the 90s were awesome. And yeah, I probably identify as a Sega kid. I certainly loved the Super Nintendo. The 8-bit Nintendo was cool. The Nintendo 64 is incredible. Like, the wrestling games on the 64, Mario 64, it's amazing. Like, I'm certainly not anti-Nintendo, but the Sega Mega Drive was awesome. The Saturn, underrated. The Dreamcast, slightly overrated sometimes. Controversial take by me. I love the ridiculousness of the Sega 32X and the Mega CD. But I also had a Sony PlayStation, and you know, the PlayStation 1 wiped the floor with the Saturn. You know, just in mass, it just had everything, every game you could imagine. And Australians love to be pirates. You could chip the PlayStation and get burnt games. I remember an ad in the Trading Post, which was a newspaper that came out every Thursday, and it was like classifieds, and people would advertise, and somebody advertised it for like, I think, $120. I'll come and mod chip your console. And I was like, I'm working, come mod chip my console and you can play burnt games. And this guy came over and had like a trench coat on, a briefcase, and he opened it up and it had like soldering kit and stuff, and gets to work and says, what games do you want? That I think they were maybe $10 each, $15 each. And you selected, and there were no covers, no instructions, but you got to play the games. Like cheaper almost than hiring them at that point. And it was a golden age of piracy. But Sony was still really successful. And there's something cool about owning gaming cases and stuff like that. But yeah, the PlayStation 1 was super cool. Unfortunately, the Saturn never reached its potential. I wanted it to. I preferred Tekken to Virtual Fighter, but I loved Daytona. Loved it. And the Saturn conversion kind of sucks. But it was still cool to have a version of Daytona to play at home. Daytona is still, to me, the greatest racing game that was ever released. If I hear dun, 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 Daytona, it still calls to me in an arcade. Now that I can, I play auto because I don't even drive manual in real life, but that I can do all right on. Um, I thought I was good at Super Mario Kart because I just used to play at home all the time. I beat all the cups, and I was, Toad's my guy. And I thought I was really good. And Duke Hudson, or as he was known back then, um, Elliot Sexton, or Brendan Bink as he's known, his partner, Dakota Kai, his former partner, Evie, she was all these names. She was having her birthday, and we went to an arcade slash bar in the city, and we're all out there, and we're retro gaming, having a good time, and this friend Rhiannon was there. She said, "You want to play Mario Kart?" And I'm like, "Cool." Like, got to show her the business. She lapped me. It was then I found out I'm actually no good at Mario Kart. It's just I'm good in my own little bubble. The second I'm out of my bubble with any video game, I'm no good. But yeah, I with gaming, I yeah, I'd play with friends and stuff, but I preferred to game solo. I was going to say play by myself or play with myself, but it's just going to end into entendre after entendre. Um, I just enjoyed losing myself in the game and playing it by myself. I remember getting the X-Men game, getting Spider-Man, getting all these games on the Mega Drive. I loved sports games. Like I enjoyed the original EA Hockey, the original FIFA Soccer. Like I was a big fan of those games. I think I could still pick it up and do okay if I picked up a control. If I video game, I prefer to retro game. I own a PlayStation 5. I own a current Xbox Series X, but I tend to play Street Fighter on them. I tend to play Daytona on them, or I will be getting the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection to play on there. It's Final Fight is one of my favorite games, and there's never been a great sort of modern redo of Final Fight where they've not modernized it because I don't want them to change it, but just a super version of Final Fight. So like Slam Masters was awesome. And usually when you get them, they've got like weird borders where it looks like an arcade machine or something. It's like, no, I just want to play Final Fight. Okay, okay. And they're the type of games I enjoy. I remember Final Fight must have been sold out when I got my Super Nintendo, and for Christmas, I got a game called Rival Turf. Now, I don't think it was called Rival Turf in North America. It might have been called Tough Enough. I think I might have that wrong, but that's what I think. But Rival Turf was a Final Fight ripoff. The Ninja Turtles arcade game, side-scrolling beat 'em up. When Shredder's Revenge came out, I was in heaven. They've announced a Master of Universe game that's going to be a bit like Golden Axe and a side scroller. I'm all for that. Like that is Streets of Rage. That is me. Like that is the pace of gaming I like. I'm a basic bitch when it comes to gaming. But that doesn't mean I don't have a fondness and a love and an affection for it. Playing rock and roll racing, playing Earthworm Jim, now I'm just doing lists. But it was so much fun playing those games, and I'm so nostalgic for it. And it's such a piece of growing up, you know, on the Nintendo 64, the wrestling games were just incredible. Like they were. Super Mario 64, Mario Kart 64 is my favorite version of Mario Kart. Um, GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, I was okay at, but I was never great at them. Like that's where games started to lose me when shooting games and you had to start using dual analog sticks and stuff. For some reason, my brain sorted out a bit like my fine motor skills, and I was like, "Yeah, you're no good at this." But yeah, I love retro gaming. I'm more of a collector with retro gaming. I've yet to find, I guess, Raspberry Pis. Like, how do you retro game? Like, obviously, the original hardware is always preferable. I've got a Nintendo 64 with an EverDrive, which is really cool. How do you retro game? Do you use a retro Pi? Do you use original consoles? I'd love to hear that. Do you bother with retro gaming? Do you prefer modern gaming? You know, I know a lot of people. Like, I found out my brother, my eldest brother, he's 62. He plays Call of Duty. I was blown. I was like, what? Well, I'm blown away that he would play Call of Duty. So like modern games, bigger than movies and music and stuff, the gaming industry. But yeah, I have such a fondness, and I think it was a bit of a sadness for me when Sega went away as a console maker. Like I know you could argue that the Xbox is the spiritual successor to a Sega console, and it is in some ways, but it kind of isn't. You know, like I would be the first sucker if Sega came out and said we're doing a console. It's like sign me up, Sega. I'd be going Sega. Like when we were in LA, I went to they had a Sega pop up store in Little Tokyo, and unfortunately, it was towards the end, so a lot of their stuff was gone. But you know, I love Sonic the Hedgehog. The movies being successful is super cool to me, and yeah, like I prefer I prefer Pepsi Max to Diet Coke or Coke Zero. I prefer Sega to Nintendo. I prefer Guns N' Roses to Metallica. You know, I prefer Hungry Jacks to McDonald's or Burger King for my American friends. But that doesn't mean I don't like the other stuff. You know, I guess I'm always just the shithead that goes against the grain. You know, when WCW was at the height of popularity, I was very pro WWF. Now I'm nostalgic for WCW/ECW. You know, I was very ECW at the time. I was, you know, oh, you watch WCW and WWF? Oh, I watch ECW because I'm hardcore. Um, but yeah, you know, and there's like I guess I support AEW over WWE these days. There's some reason the underdog is, even though at times they're not the underdog, but for the most part they are, that grabs my attention and gets my support. I don't know why. I guess it's just a difficult part of my nature. But I would love to hear from you about, do you collect gaming toys? What are you nostalgic for? Are you Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat? Do you like the Mortal Kombat movie as much as me? Are you excited for the new movie? Um, do you want to give me or sell me any of your GI Joe, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter stuff? Because you know you do. Um, but you probably don't. Fair. Are you going to be collecting? Are you angry at Todd that he got the Mortal Kombat license? Sort of makes sense to me in a way that Todd would get that license because it's Spawn adjacent and everything like that. But you know, yeah, it would have been cool if Jada got it. But I'm going to collect these toys and still hope that one day Jada gets it. You know, because the Storm collectibles, I'm sure they're way better versions, but they're really, really, really expensive. But yeah, I'm actually hoping to put out another refreshing thoughts this week. I'm going to go 2 for 2. I feel like I owe you. But you know, I appreciate you listening and giving me your time. My subscriber base is slowly growing. I finally hit 80, which to me was a big deal because I was worried nobody was going to watch this channel, and that it would just be me talking to myself. But I get a lot of support, and I really appreciate the fact that anybody spends their time with me is great, even if it's on the audio version, which a lot of you do. Like, more listen to this than watch this, and look at the pace. Fair enough. But I appreciate any support. If you can share the show, get the word out on social media, ask people to click like and subscribe. Like I'm about to do, click like and subscribe. It would be great. Another way you can support my channel is I have a Patreon, which is for not only refreshing thoughts, but for geek dudes. And hey, it's a podcast where for $5 Australian a month, you can subscribe to patreon.com/C/refreshing thoughts podcast/membership. And that helps keep the lights on because StreamYard is expensive, as any toy tuber would tell you. Shout out to Shiny Plastic People. Here's a fellow Chris tuber. He's got an awesome channel. You should check that out. And my friends at Toy Power as well. And hey, it's the podcast. And Geek Dudes are the other podcasts that I can be heard on. And even though they're on a bit of a break, the archives of Dave's Video Graveyard, hear Davey review Street Fighter, hear him review Mortal Kombat. A really good time. Also coming up is the Adelaide Comic and Toy Fair. Custody arrangements may make it difficult for me to get across, but I am trying my hardest to get there. It is going to be the long weekend in Adelaide in October. I think it's October 6th, but forgive me if I'm wrong. I should have researched that also. Thank you for checking out Refreshing Thoughts. I am Chris Fresh, and I will speak to you really soon. Don't forget to interact with me. Leave me a comment, like, and especially subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Love you. Speak to you soon. Hooroo from the Guru.